Okay, today is June the 8th, 2003, and we're in the home of Dr. Kurt Wimer, W-I-M-E-R, at 155 Warren Street in East Stroudsburg. And Dr. Wimer is a former rabbi of Temple Israel in Stroudsburg, and he has a lot of things that he can tell us, I'm sure. First of all, Kurt, I'd like you to tell us, if you would, where and how did you become a rabbi?
Art, I received my Jewish education and training as rabbi, cantor, and teacher at the Jewish Theological Seminary at Wurzburg, Germany.
Can you tell us what year that was?
I will. I attended this seminary for several years and centered my studies there in all three fields. My graduation from the seminary in Wurzburg was in 1936. That is when Hitler was already Chancellor of Germany. He had been since 1933, as you remember. I had the good fortune to become rabbi, cantor, and teacher of the Jewish congregation at Worms, Germany.
Just tell us for a moment, Worms is a city, a large city of Germany, in the southwestern part of the country.
Near the Rhine, near the French border. In Worms, incidentally, the famous rabbi of the Middle Ages, Rashi, once lived there in Worms and taught, and there is still what's in German, the Rashi Kapelle. The Rashi Chapel is still in
part
existence.
Of the synagogue?
Part of the synagogue in existence.
Can you take a moment, if you will, and just briefly tell us who Rashi was?
Rashi is the most famous commentator of the Middle Ages. He really lived in France, but then he came over to Worms, and he was there and he taught there.
The name Rashi is an acronym, though, is it?
Yes, it is.
It means there are other parts of the name?
Yes, that's right.
We'll have to find that out.
Well, anyway, in the United States, I had my rabbinic ordination later on, of course, certified here based in a court of 3 rabbis.
In New York?
Yeah, in New York. Now, what else did you want to know?
We have to back up just a little bit. First of all, where were you born?
I was born actually in a small town near Heidelberg, Germany.
All right, going back then to Worms, how come you got such a big job immediately after graduating from the seminary?
Yeah, well, you're quite right. Well, Worms actually had at that time still over 600 Jews.
And at that time you're talking 1936?
In 36. And prior to that, in normal times, they had over 1,000. And some had already left. In normal times, they had a rabbi and an assistant rabbi and a cantor and an assistant cantor. But in 1936, due to the conditions there under Hitler, they could only afford one person who could be both rabbi and cantor. And teacher, they needed a teacher too, because Jewish children were no longer allowed in German high schools. The synagogue, I want to tell you that, like the famous Worms dome and the old Jewish cemetery in Worms was and is a historical monument of Germany.
It's still there? It wasn't desecrated?
It was destroyed in 1938 in the famous Kristallnacht. It was burned. And it was actually restored by the German government as one of their very first projects that the Germans did after the defeat, you know.
Didn't you tell me once that you were invited back to Worms for a ceremony what was that? Am I correct on that or not?
Oh, yes, indeed.
Tell us about that, please.
As a matter of fact, you see, as a matter of fact, what happened is they recorded me, and that is today in the museum at Worms.
What was recorded?
conference. They invited me at their expense. I went back.
And when did you go back, and what were you there for specifically?
They invited me. The German government did this to a number of people.
Oh, as people who had been
active, either they're leaders or they were born there. Or
I think Tom Breslauer had the same situation where he was invited back to Germany. I think to Hamburg. But Tom Breslauer, yeah.
That's right. He was invited.
He went to Hamburg.
So I was invited at Worms, and
how long did you stay?
Strange, let me say. I knew nobody there.
In the city?
In the city. You see, when I was there in 1936, the Germans could not communicate with us anymore. And that was rather sad. Now, I got to know a few people there, and they were lovely, and some of them...
You mean non-Jews?
Non-Jews. I'm talking of non-Jews. Actually, there was one Jewish family there that had come in from the East, from Russia. Now there are many more there, and the Jewish congregation in Worms now is under the superintendence of Mainz.
The city of Mainz.
City of Mainz, yeah, which was nearby.
Mainz is M-E-I-N-Z?
M-A-I-N-Z.
Okay. Okay, so you had your smicha in Europe, and then you came to the United States in what year?
1938.
38, and you had you went to a base in the United States.
In the United States, later on.
Okay.
That was later on.
Well, tell us then, how did you come to Stroudsburg?
Yes, all right.
This is our main topic.
I came to Stroudsburg by mere accident.
By bus, maybe?
No. All right, I will tell you. My parents had left earlier.
Earlier than 36.
Than 38. They did actually leave in 36.
Okay.
But since I got this big offer from the city of Worms, I felt that I should not refuse that. And I had this job for 2 years. I saw that they were rearming Germany, but I felt that isn't going to go so quickly. I felt that this is going to take years and years.
You didn't have the feeling that Hitler was just a passing fancy. You knew that it was something permanent.
Most of the German Jews, myself included, we thought this was something that would disappear, that economically and otherwise that they would not permit this. And we all were under the impression, that this is something that could not last. But it lasted. So we know.
So
that.
You're here in 1938, and you had family here already. Your parents were here, and your brothers were here.
And yes, I was the last one.
And they lived where, in New York?
They lived in New York in the so-called Third Reich up there.
Oh, really? Tell us then, how did you come to Stroudsburg?
Well, my cousin visited my family one evening, and then while we were talking, I asked my cousin, "Where are you going tomorrow?" He was a traveling salesman.
Mm-hmm.
And he said to me, "I'm going to Pennsylvania tomorrow. You want to come along?"
Just like that?
Just like that. And you know what I said? Yes. So he said to me, "Do you mean it?" So I once more said yes. You see, there I lived with my folks in Germany. They spoke only German there. And conditions in New York were simply not good in 1938. That was still part of the Depression, and there are so many, quote, refugees that had come in, and I wanted to see American life rather than being exposed to it. I didn't like New York too much at that point. So I went with him.
Do you remember what time of the year this was?
Yes, that was shortly before the holidays.
Which holidays?
And
I mean,
high holidays were shown in Yom Kippur. So I came to Stroudsburg, and it so happened that Stroudsburg needed somebody for the high holidays.
Now, how did you find that out?
That's not very difficult. First of all, you see, the store he went to was a Jewish store. And he told him, my cousin is outside, and he told him a little about me, that I was cantor and rabbi there in Worms, and so he says, "Oh yes."
Who is he? Do you remember the store?
I think it was Robinson, but I'm not sure
Well,
anymore.
was he a butcher or?
No,
No?
my cousin was a salesman in riding breeches,
Oh, clothing.
clothing. He
Okay.
was in clothing, and he introduced me. He called me into the store.
Your cousin.
You're my cousin, yeah,
Okay.
and the storekeeper too. And whoever the storekeeper was, I'm not sure whether it was Robinson, but I think it was.
But it was
Anyway,
a clothing store.
He says, "You have to meet our president right now because we happen to look for somebody." And so I got to know Dave Birnbaum that way. And Dave
Well, that's
Birnbaum,
Jack's father.
Jack's father, yeah, he was the president of the congregation. So that's how I came to Stroudsburg, and I'm still here.
So they gave you the job right away? That's.
Pretty much. But they needed somebody.
Do you mind telling us how much of a salary they paid you then?
They didn't give me very much. I cannot recall the exact
So
sum.
it wasn't a lot.
But it was not a lot. But it was, to me, it was a lot.
Well, and for those days,
And
probably.
let me tell you this much. I was not so much interested in the money, even though I hardly had anything. I was interested in getting exposed to the American culture.
Were you married at this time?
No, I was not married during the entire period when I was in Stroudsburg. And
Tell us so that we have for the record. Your wife's name is Sarah.
my wife's name is Sarah.
And you have
but
2 children?
I married her later after I left Stroudsburg, after I resigned.
Oh.
I was single during the entire period
of your tenure at Temple Israel.
my
Oh,
tenure.
didn't
I was single then, and
But tell us the names of your 2 children so we have it here too.
yeah. Well, I have a son by the name of Scott. Scott is now also a PhD,
What field?
social psychology, but he's also a business consultant.
And you have a daughter?
And he lives in California. Scott does. My daughter's name is Lucy. She too. Scott is married, and my daughter is also married. I have 3 grandchildren, and Lucy lives in Boston, and she comes more often than Scott because she's a little closer. But in the meantime, actually, I'm rather alone here right now.
Yes, you are. Well, then tell us. You were hired by Stroudsburg, by Temple Israel Stroudsburg, and we're talking now of the shul that was on Brown Street.
On Brown Street,
Okay.
right.
And what role did you have as rabbi? What were you supposed to do? What were
All
you
right,
hired
well,
to do?
Birnbaum asked me, I'll tell you what we are interested in, and he mentioned we want someone to conduct services in the regular fashion.
When you say regular, you're talking a conservative or orthodox?
Yeah, well, he told me, as I remember it, I think he told me that there are all kinds of people here. There are Orthodox people, there are Reformed people.
So you have to find the middle ground.
So we have to find middle ground. He said, all right with you. How was it in Germany? So I said pretty much the same way, at the end in Worms. And I was conservative.
But you always consider yourself a conservative Jew.
Pardon
You
me?
always considered yourself as a conservative Jew.
On the liberal side.
Okay.
On the liberal side. Now I'll tell you what he says. You have to give us sermons. You have to be a chazan, that's a cantor.
Mm-hmm.
And particularly we want somebody to educate our children. Then he told me, I remember that to this day, he says, we have no real rabbi here, we have only a student from the seminary. And we want, if at all possible, we would like to have someone on a regular basis. So I said, well, that's what I want to be. And we were talking, but there was no definite commitment as to the whole year or anything like that. He says, well, we'll have you for the holidays, we'll see how it works out.
So that was your test, if you will.
There was, he said that this is not really satisfactory to have that student come on weekends.
Mhm.
And we want somebody who is permanent, who lives here. And can you do that? So I told him, this is exactly what I'm looking for. I am interested in education. I am very much interested in creating goodwill in the community. Now, that is an element that people today forget.
We're talking about the non-Jewish community.
The non-Jewish community, he said, we want to have a representative, someone who can represent the Jews. You see, 38 was in the middle of the Depression yet, or towards the end of the Depression anyway. And 1938, the war seemed already, was danger that war might break out, you see.
In Europe.
And Stroudsburg had a good many people who seemed to sympathize a little bit with the isolationist movement, and they were very, very much concerned.
Would you say they were anti-Semitic people?
Well, there were some anti-Semitic, and I don't know whether he used the term, but there were isolationists, and he felt that we needed somebody to represent the Jewish community. Can you do that? Well, there was a little difficulty with my language, you know, because I just came over.
How did they accept you as, in the community as being from Germany?
There was no trouble at all.
No trouble.
No trouble at all.
It's interesting.
Yeah, no trouble. On the contrary, I was surprised. Two ways. First of all, how the Jewish community took me in. You see, I just came from Germany, and my main concern was that we must avoid here a repetition of that. And I told that to Birnbaum. So I said, fine, that's just what we're looking for. And the shidduch was made.
Mm-hmm.
That I stay there for the holidays, and if I work out, we'll see what will happen.
Do you remember where you stayed? With whom?
Well, sure I do. I stayed with Sadie Nadelman. Sadie was herself, I think she came from Poland, Russia. And she had sort of a boarding room situation. So any Jewish people who was sort of alone would go to Sadie. There was a man there from the pocketbook factory.
Do you remember where she lived?
Where Sadie lived?
Yeah.
I can give you the exact address. 199 Washington Street.
Washington, okay. 191 Washington.
199 Washington Street. Now, I told him that I am interested in interfaith meetings. I'm interested in creating brotherhood, because let's be frank. In Germany, maybe if the Jews would have intermingled a little better and would have brought Gentiles in and let us see what the Jews are like, maybe this couldn't have happened. But who knows? But I wanted to be that kind of a rabbi here. And he was pleased no end, because it's just what he wanted to hear. So it seemed that I could supply what the congregation needed.
Would you think that you were satisfying Mr. Birnbaum, or was that what the whole congregation wanted?
I should have added that he did not act on his own. He called a few others. I take it he called in the board of directors. Yeah,
okay.
He did not act on his own here. And we had interesting discussions. They wanted to know where I was in Germany, where I was employed, why I left Germany.
Well, they understood.
Yeah, but they understood. Actually, I broke my contract with the congregation in Worms.
You broke?
I broke my contract.
Why? Because you got another job here?
No, I had no other job here.
But why do you say you broke the contract?
Because 1938, the political situation looked dangerous. That's the time of Munich. That's the time when Hitler marched into Austria. And I felt it's high time that I leave. And let me tell you, there was nobody in Worms who tried to hold me to the contract. Nobody. See, everybody wanted to get out, and I decided it's high time, and it was high time because, as you well know, Kristallnacht happened in the fall of 1938.
November of
And
38.
I left Germany in the summer of 38. So I told them, they all understood.
Yeah.
And they were anxious to get somebody.
So when you came here, then you were the rabbi, you were the cantor. You obviously you read the Torah.
Yeah, sure.
And do you remember?
I know how to read the Torah. Yeah, you know.
It's. Did you have a Hebrew school, or did you start a Hebrew? In other words, was it here? Were they being trained by this student, this seminary student, or is something that you started?
But he certainly had the group together. But he was here on weekends. I'm not really familiar with that, but I'm sure he had them on Sundays, and possibly he stayed also on Monday or came already Friday. That I don't know, but he did have some sort of a setup. But it was not the Hebrew school the way they wanted it. They wanted somebody here every day.
Well, do you mean that the children went to Hebrew school every day, or
every day after school?
After
school, from Monday to Friday. Every day.
From what time? That's quite a bit.
3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's when they got out of. I think it was 3 o'clock.
Can you tell us who some of your early students were?
Well, sure, I can tell you who my.
Tell us who they were. I'm sure some of them are still in the congregation.
They sure are. There was Costa. What's the Costa?
Leon Coster.
Leon was the father.
Oh.
The son. Well, Jack Birnbaum. Well, actually, there were 3 ready to become bar mitzvah. That's what they wanted to. They wanted somebody to prepare these children properly for the bar mitzvah. You'll be surprised who was the first one. Wilkins.
Oh, really?
Morris Wilkins. Do you know Morris?
No, I don't. I never met him.
But you've heard Morris.
Yeah, oh, yes.
He still lives here, doesn't he?
I think he lives in Honesdale. His wife passed away recently.
Yeah. Well, actually, he was already 13 and he had not become bar mitzvah.
Oh, really?
And so they said, what you have to do first is make Morris bar mitzvah. So he was my first one.
What did he do for his bar mitzvah? Did he read the Torah? Did he just say the Haftorah?
Well, tell us what easy. How many can read the Torah? This is not an easy thing.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
But no, I prepared him to say the Haftorah.
Okay.
The Haftorah. As you know, the Torah has no vowels. So.
Did he do well?
He did very well. Morris is a very smart.
Good.
I was going to say boy.
Who were the other 2? You said there were 3.
Lester Brown. And he was not yet 13, and but
Bill Brown's brother, and the
Bill,
father was Herman Brown.
Herman Brown was very anxious to have somebody here, and the third one was Harold Jacobs, I remember.
Harold now lives in New Jersey.
Harold now lives in New Jersey, yes, and he was the third one, and those were particularly anxious, and I prepared. See, the children were in regular school up to the afternoon, about 3:30.
Their secular school.
Secular school, high school, whatever. And then they would come to Hebrew school every day.
Someone told me that you went to a little town near here to teach Irv Efras. He didn't live here.
Well, Efras was one of the later ones. Well, let me first tell you how long I was here. I came here in 1938. And I stayed here for about 8 years, till 1947. That's when I resigned. And Efros was one of the later ones. Also, his father would bring him in to the temple many times when it became bar mitzvah. And sometimes I went to Portland, actually.
That's where Irv lived, in Portland.
Yeah, they lived in Portland then. And I went to Portland. Believe it or not, on Shabbos I walked it.
Oh, from Stroudsburg to Portland?
From Stroudsburg to Portland.
Oh, my God.
But I would go on Shabbos Saturday evening.
So you could ride back.
So I could ride back. Altogether, let me say something else. I had no car. And you'll be surprised how I did business. On a bicycle.
Really?
I got around here on the bicycle.
Well, did you take the bicycle to Portland? or you actually walked?
I'm not sure now anymore. The only time I walked was on Shabbos.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, I would take either the bus. I think possibly I went, but you see, at that time there wasn't traffic like now.
No, of course.
And I think I went sometimes by bicycle.
Well,
But I enjoyed that.
I'm sure you did. Were there girls in the Hebrew school?
No girls.
None at all. By choice or?
Oh, whether in Hebrew
Yeah.
school? I thought you meant for bar mitzvah. There was no bas
No
mitzvah.
bat mitzvahs at that time.
No bas mitzvah.
Was it ever talked about? Did anybody ever bring it up?
Never talked about.
No, never dawned on anybody.
Nobody
No,
thought about it. You know that yourself. In the yeshiva, you see, they were strict about that.
So you had the children from the school. They came in several days a week after their own secular education.
Yeah,
And-
I should say, incidentally, they didn't come necessarily every day. There were different classes. Some would come Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Some would come Tuesdays and Thursdays. Then everybody came together on Sundays.
When you
That was Sunday school.
when you taught the children for their bar mitzvah, did the parents give you something? Did they reimburse you? Or was that just part of your job?
No, it was supposed to be part of the job, but in each case, if I prepared them, they would give me some sort of a present.
Okay. But you don't remember the salary that they paid you at the beginning?
Oh, yes,
You
I
do?
do.
Would you mind telling us?
No, I got $15.
A week or a month?
$15. No, a week.
A week.
$15 a week. I think it was for a few weeks, maybe even less.
Did there ever come a time when they couldn't pay you?
Well, sometimes they paid late. I must tell you here, the congregation was in financial difficulty. Dave Birnbaum explained that to me. He said that we have a big mortgage on the temple, and sometimes they couldn't meet the payments. That was they owed that to the local bank, an East Stroudsburg bank. It's across the railroad tracks there.
Mm-hmm.
That bank was there, and they threatened to foreclose the temple.
Oh, really?
Yes, and they were very much concerned. And he told me, he says, everything is fine except we cannot pay much to you. To
That's
which
Mr. Birnbaum who said this.
Mr. Birnbaum said that. We cannot pay much to you. So I told him that my main interest at that particular time of my life was not financial. My main interest was to get used to the American ways of doing things, get used to the American culture. In New York, I was with my parents. They spoke German, and I was very, very anxious to get used to the American ways. And Stroudsburg seemed to be, naturally a typical little town.
Did you ever go back and forth to New York? Did you go by
yes.
bus or by train when you went to visit?
By
That was the
train.
best way of traveling?
I had a reduction as clergy, and was a considerable reduction. You may remember the DL&W.
Oh, yeah. Phoebe
I'll
Snow.
tell you when I went to New York, and that was throughout the time that I was in Stroudsburg. On Sunday mornings, there was a train around noontime, 12 or 12:30, whenever it was. So after the Sunday school, I would go to New York, and I would come back on Tuesday morning. And that happened every week on a regular basis.
I wanted to ask you something about the students, because some of them, are still around here. Were they good students? Did they give you a lot of trouble?
They were excellent
Did you ever have to
students.
give them a punch?
No, that didn't happen.
That didn't happen.
That didn't happen. The students that I had there in Hebrew school were as superior as any group I have ever taught.
Really?
Oh yes, they were very smart. And some of them are still here. And you have already Jack Birnbaum recorded,
Yes,
isn't it?
yeah.
Well, Jack Birnbaum was one of them. I must tell you a funny one on that. Jack Birnbaum takes credit that he was unruly or whatever, that he was the cause why I quit my job here.
Oh, really?
He boasts about
Oh,
that. He likes. it's not quite true. Now, he was not a model. I will say that. He was far from being a model.
He admits that, I think.
Oh, yes, he admits it. But Jack and I are very good friends today. And Jack, I see him once in a while.
You remember his running out to the kitchen and standing on a can and whatever and going through the window to get out of the shul?
It's possible. He's, as I say, he was not exactly a model student that way in behavior. But he was a good student. He's a smart guy.
Yes.
But he was not there. I'll tell you who was there too. I had Sam Newman as a student. And Sam and I are very good friends today.
We mentioned earlier on another tape, Sam Newman is a lawyer in Stroudsburg, and he's also he is an executive at the ski slope now.
Yeah, right. And whenever I have a legal problem today, I go to Sam.
Was he a good student?
Sam?
Yeah.
Excellent. And Sam is a very polite person. And very smart, very smart.
And who were some of the others?
Art Jolly.
Mm-hmm.
Now he, when I was there, when I was there at the 75th,
mm-hmm.
and
the 75th anniversary of Temple Israel.
Of Temple Israel, I was there, and I sang some melodies at that time. Were you there then?
I'm sure, yes.
So you may remember it. Well, Art Jolly spoke. But at that time my hearing already was not as good as it was before, let me put it this way. And I didn't hear what he said, but somebody told me afterwards that he said that during the recreation, you see, these children came there after public school at 3:30, and they needed a little diversion. And during recreation class, we played soccer in the basement.
In the shul? In the building itself?
In the basement, not in the shul.
But in the building itself?
In the building itself. And we did this for about 10 minutes, let's say. And I was told that Art said that he aimed at me.
Aimed the ball at you?
Aimed the ball at me. Well...
why did he do that?
Well, you boys, they have... my relationship with these people was excellent. Mm-hmm. We had a very, very good relationship, and still have, incidentally, with Art too. But I'll say this much, he was not a good marksman. He wouldn't win any prizes.
Were you a soccer player in Europe?
I was on the team there when I went in my early days, before Hitler. So...
I think you told us that you were a rabbi at Temple Israel for about 8 years.
For 8 years.
And could you tell us about how big the congregation was at that time?
The congregation was much smaller at that time than now.
How many people would you say?
Estimate maybe 30, 40.
And they all lived in the town?
Not necessarily. No. In the surrounding, people would come in by car, mm-hmm. and certainly Bardensville, whatever you see, they lived around here.
And how often did you have minions?
Pretty much same as today.
On Shabbos, on the holidays?
On
Nothing
Shabbos,
during the week?
On the holiday, when somebody had Yortzeit, and special occasions. So there was not too different. I'll say this to you. In those days, there were probably many more first generation Americans, American Jews than now. And they had their own ways about them. And Sadie Nadelman, where I lived, she gave me the information on everybody, more or less.
She knew.
But let me tell you something. I remember that she was particularly impressed by the wealthier people. Sadie, incidentally, she was a very fine lady, but she was blind in one eye, and herself an immigrant. And
you said from Poland, I think?
She came from Poland, I think, yeah. And I stayed there, you know. But anyway, she spoke about Abelhoff, and I didn't even know Nathan at that time. And she says, well, he's a millionaire. So I say, Sadie, he doesn't necessarily have more than 100,000. Or she said 100,000, he doesn't have that much. Now Nathan was a real charitable man. I don't know whether you know that.
I never knew him, no.
Well, when he
I met him one time, but I never really knew him.
He was rich at that time. He wasn't always rich, and he was friends with the local judge, Judge Williams.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't know Judge Williams.
No.
Now, Judge Williams and I were very, very good friends, and the judge, he was charitable locally. Nathan was. And he closed the court that afternoon when Abelhoff died.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he was very, very highly thought of by the judge.
Did you conduct the service at that time, the funerals?
Of Abelhoff?
Yeah.
But Abelhoff didn't die at that particular time.
Oh, it was much later.
It was much later.
Okay.
I'm trying to think whether I conducted the services. I conducted the services, I think, for Mrs. Abelhoff, his wife, when she died.
I want to go back to the Hebrew school for a moment, if I could.
Go back to the Hebrew school.
What did you teach them? What subjects? So was it just reading Ivr, or was it doing Chumash? Did you do Gemara, or what?
No, we didn't do any Gemara. We didn't do, not the Mishnah even either.
No.
We didn't do that. But we had the daily prayer book. First of all, they had to learn a little bit of Hebrew. They had to learn to read.
Right.
And then we had Sidurim, prayer books, and I wanted them to understand the prayer books. I wanted them to know a little about Jewish ways, and I wanted them to like the temple. And I think I succeeded in doing that. I wanted them to make the temple sort of as a second home. And
did you translate the prayers for them?
I told them what the prayers are all about. Now, they are not perfect linguists in Hebrew.
Understand, yeah.
I mean, let's not kid ourselves.
Did you have to start with the Aleph Beis, or did any of them come to you already having knowledge of that?
Art, that depends. That's probably the same today. In some families, they are trained at home, to some extent anyway. But generally speaking, I was surprised how little training they had, and the only training in many, many cases were the training that they got in the temple.
Did any of those young people come back post Bar Mitzvah? Or were they finished at that time?
No. Many of them came back.
And what did you do with those children who were over 13? How did you teach them?
Well, did they come back to Hebrew school?
Yeah.
Not so much, you see, but they came back to services.
Oh, yeah.
And
but there was no post-bar mitzvahs?
In many cases, I taught them the Friday evening service and the Shabbos morning service. Shabbos morning was a problem. Still a problem.
Why?
It was difficult. They came Friday night. When there was a special occasion, they would come.
But their stores were closed on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, right?
Mostly.
Yeah.
Mostly. They still are, aren't they?
Yes. So you didn't really have any great continuation. What about the high holidays? So you came here as the cantor originally, but when you were established as the rabbi, did you have any help during that time on high holidays? Did they hire anybody else, or were you doing the whole thing from start to finish?
No. I couldn't possibly do that.
So tell us about that.
All right. Well, I had somebody who could take on the prayer, so to say, on Yom Kippur Shachris. That's the morning service. He did that, and I would take Musaf. And
I remember who that was. Any particular person?
The name doesn't come to me right now. But we had two people here who could do that, and your counterpart.
Yes.
You are doing that today, aren't you?
Yeah.
So we had that, and in Hebrew school, I had there was Mrs. Solomon. She died since, and she's not here anymore. But Mrs. Solomon helped with that, and she helped also with the bulletins.
Mm-hmm.
See, so I had help, but that was volunteer help.
Oh, volunteer. So there was a temple secretary, quote unquote, who was a volunteer?
We had no secretary.
No.
I was sort of supervising the bulletins, and I started the bulletins.
How did they put the bulletin? Oh, you started it.
I started it, yeah. Well, we had somebody who would print it, same as you have now. Mr. Klinghofer was the guy who was a distributor. I don't know what he distributed there, but he's the one who could duplicate them, and he did.
But he did it on a mimeograph machine. There was no
He had the
fancy
mimeograph machine,
machine.
yeah, oh yes, we did.
So somebody had to type a stencil,
That's
as they
right.
call it.
Well, that's, for instance, Mrs. Solomon would do that. You have volunteers today that do that, don't you?
Yeah, but we don't have to type stencils. I just want, the people who hear this to know what kinds of things you did.
There was a stencil, and we brought out the bulletin regularly.
But you say you started the bulletin. There was no general information before that time about the temple?
I don't want to answer that because I'm not sure.
You're not sure, okay. Now, let's talk about some of your accomplishments while you were rabbi. And
Well,
you had another question about, your accomplishments and your disappointments as rabbi.
You want to know about accomplishments. Well, what did I want to accomplish? I wanted to accomplish, you see, to create goodwill between Jews and Gentiles. I thought, and for that purpose, I spoke around. I spoke around to clubs. You would be surprised.
Like Kiwanis?
Kiwanis, Rotary, the Lions, all these organizations. I started a scout club here, the
Boy Scouts?
Boy Scouts.
Oh, really?
Well, all these boys, we had about a dozen boys and girls, but the club, you see, was
What did you talk about when you went to the clubs? What was your topics generally?
I was always interested in international affairs, and I spoke on any topic, and also on Jewish affairs.
So it wasn't necessarily something of
No,
Jewish?
not at all, not at all. Then they became aware that.
So it's just your knowledge as a scholar?
Art, let me go back a little here.
Okay.
As a boy, I wanted I was interested in teaching, and I wanted to become a teacher, or possibly a university professor or something. Then Hitler came to power, and by the time I graduated high school, Jews were not allowed in universities. And instead of going to university, I decided to go to the seminary. That's how I started that. And but my interest always was in international affairs. So when I would speak to the Rotary, I would speak on a topic that we would agree on international problems, whatever the international problems were, and they became aware of that. But then I started going to the Ministerial Association.
What was that? What was that?
Well, that still is in existence. That's a group of local ministers who hold regular meetings. They still do. I think Rabbi Marcy Green belongs now to the Ministerial Association.
But as a rabbi of Temple Israel, you were a participant?
As a rabbi. Now there I was more or less as a representative of the Jewish group. But I was very pleased that they invited me. I'll tell you what happened at the first meeting of the Ministerial Association. The president of the Ministerial introduced me in a very, very proper way, and he also wanted. Well, let me put it this way. He said, "It so happens that I listened last Friday evening to the Message of Israel." Are you familiar?
I remember
with
that. Today I still have a script from one of those programs.
Yeah, well, I do. I listened to all of them. They were very good.
My mother used to get the script sent to her.
They are the rabbis from Temple Emmanuel.
Yeah.
They were the ones who conducted.
This was a radio broadcast from Temple Emmanuel in New York.
I think it was at 8 o'clock every Friday night. Now, the president of the local Ministerial Association after introducing me, who I was, he said, "Now I must ask you something." So I said, "Please do." I listened to a sermon last the Friday evening, and I was impressed by it. And my wife asked me, "What is it that are you just listening, or are you worshiping here?" And I want to ask you, as a rabbi, what is your reaction to this? What should I answer her? So I was taken aback here for a moment, but then I said to him, "Well, if I understand it, you and I, meaning the Christians and the Jews, we share the Old Testament together. And this is a brotherhood meeting. And we emphasize the things we have in common. Well, we have the Old Testament in common. And I think this would be a good thing. But whether you should worship or whether you should just listen, I will not answer." And that was the very first meeting. And I became very close to these people. There was one German minister at that time, and some people thought that he was perhaps a little sympathetic to the German cause. He visited me regularly. And afterwards, after we went into the war, you see, he definitely was anti-Nazi. But he was German, and people thought that possibly that he sympathized. But I don't think personally he did. We became good friends. I was good friends with all the ministers here.
So you would say that was a major accomplishment, that you made that tie between...
Not only that, another major accomplishment was that I organized brotherhood meetings. A good deal of my time, now I didn't have to do this, but a good deal of my time was spent in organizing these local brotherhood meetings. And
again, between Christian and Jew.
Between Christian and Jews. And for that I went to clubs and went to schools, like Tom Breslauer does now. He's my counterpart right now, that I cannot do this anymore. And in this fashion I got acquainted with the president of the university. At that time,
we're talking about East Stroudsburg.
Dr. Noonan.
Yeah. It was an East Stroudsburg State Teachers College at the time.
Yeah, and then it became
East Stroudsburg University.
Not immediately, but I helped prepare it to become a university ultimately. But that's another story.
Right.
I met the principals of the high school, and we became friends. And then I became scoutmaster here for the local Jewish group, and I took these people, like Jack Birnbaum, for instance, and we went to the local camps, and we played there. And at the college I organized an Hillel. Now that again, Rabbi Marcy may be interested.
Tell us briefly what Hillel is.
Hillel are the Jewish students get together at colleges and to learn a little about Judaism and in general. And it's
a social organization.
Essentially social organization. It's a subdivision of B'nai B'rith.
But it's not a fraternity or a sorority in that sense of the word.
No, that it was not.
Okay.
But I became I don't remember what they called me, but the director of Hillel at the college. For some reason, there were unusual number. It was after the war, really, or during the war. There was quite a number of Jewish students there. And
did they ever come to services in the shul?
Why, certainly they did. That was the idea, you see, of bringing some people from Hillel down. But you see, my accomplishment then, if I don't know whether I succeeded or not, I'll have something to say on that too, for that matter. I felt it was necessary, and I think we created a good deal of brotherhood and good feeling. You see, at that time, even among Jews, there was a certain amount where some people would still cling to their old ways in their own countries. Sadie Nadelman would say, the Galicianer, or he's a Russischer, or he's a Litvak. And I heard her on the telephone once say, the Deutsch is not here, and by the Deutsch she meant me. And but there was more prejudice then in general, and more anti-Semitism than there is today. And I think, I hope I contributed some locally. And if you ask the old-timers, they will tell you that. Another one who did that also was Lester Abelhoff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was very much concerned. And he joined also organizations.
You mean he spoke to groups too the way you did?
No, he did it by becoming members. For instance, now I think he became members of the bank.
Oh.
And I became a member of the Kiwanis Club. That I think I was the first Jew. I think I was one of the first Jews who taught at the college. Certainly, I was high school teacher here.
No, I didn't know that.
Did you not?
No.
And how did that come about?
So this is after you left Temple Israel?
No.
While you were still a rabbi?
Why, certainly.
No.
That was all while I was a rabbi. All these things were while I was a rabbi. And but I was scoutmaster while I was a rabbi.
So what did you teach in high school? In what grades? Where were you?
Well, all right. Let me tell you how it comes about, and then I'll answer your question. Mr. Groner and I were on the advancement committee of the state of Pennsylvania for the Boy Scouts, and I got to know him very well. And
is that R.J. Groner? Has a plumbing business?
That's right.
Okay.
That's of that firm, and he was the principal of the high school. That's Earl Groner.
Mm-hmm.
There was another Groner who was in charge of that firm. Anyway, he asked me, say, you know German and French, don't you? So I said, I sure do. My French is not what my German is, but I was a certified teacher in languages, in German and in French. So he says, that's just what I need.
You say certified by the state of Pennsylvania?
Indirectly, the local college gave me that certificate.
Okay.
You see, now let me say this. You see, while I was here, I felt that I should become certified in the United States. My German degrees, it's even today that way. Any doctor today.
Very difficult for
very difficult.
professionals. Yeah.
So I went to college locally at the same time, on my own time. The congregation knew about it, and they encouraged me. And it was no real problem. Also, I could take a good many subjects by examination. Mm-hmm. See, and then
based on your experience,
the state of Pennsylvania gave me a certificate for high school graduation. That they sent me without taking any courses. Mm-hmm. And they gave me credit for the seminary, and I attended some courses there were of a general nature in the seminary, and they gave me a good deal of credit. Then I also took courses there. See, and I graduated from here. Mm-hmm. Are you not aware?
Yeah, of course.
I graduated from here. My master's and doctor's degrees I got after I resigned.
What is your doctorate in?
United Nations Affairs.
And before we go too far afield, I just want to go back to, we were talking about your accomplishments at Temple Israel. What about the disappointments? Were there any? Were there many? Were there a few? Or what might be some of them?
In the main field, I felt that some anti-Semitism remained. And that's still a disappointment today. There are some people who hate us because they don't know us. And there is that kind of a disappointment. And I do want to say something more about my accomplishments. And I think that goes for today yet. If I speak to any one of the old-timers today, take Katz, take Abelhoff, take Newman, these are the real old-timers, you see. And when I meet them today, it's like almost like an extended family. Mm-hmm. We know each other very well. And I was very happy that way. These people are my friends, just like you are my friend today. And of course, you came after 47. But still, we got to know each other. And I had a special relationship with my Bar Mitzvah boys.
That you would say even continues today?
Oh yes, that very much. As far as I know, I am friends with every Jewish person that I taught, with every member of the congregation. We are all good friends. I have made lifelong friends here.
Can you tell me who some of the women, some of the girls were in your class? Are any of those here?
Yeah, sure. All right. Mention there's one girl, Phyllis Rubin, whom I had 3 times. First, I got to know her in the temple, and then when I taught high school, I think she took French with me in high school. Finally, Phyllis went to college, and I taught her once more at college.
Oh, really?
Now, Phyllis is
what was her birth name?
Phyllis.
No, her family name.
Rubin.
That's her married name. What was her birth name? Her surname?
I can't think of it at the moment.
Okay.
But I know it very well, but these days my memory isn't as good anymore as it used to be, you know. But these people are today my friends, and I take very great pride in it. And if you ask me what's your accomplishments, you don't make friends like that easily. You know that yourself. Yeah. That takes it. But I was here 8 years, and we got to know each other. All together, the congregation was smaller, and since it was smaller, the relationships were more close. And the Browns are my good friends. Lester Brown was a very, very close friend of mine.
He was an attorney, and I think he was an attorney, very much interested in history.
He was one of my students too. And Itch Somers.
Itch is a businessman in Stroudsburg.
Yes. Silk mill.
I don't know exactly what he makes.
Well, even today still.
But one last thing, if I may, are there any general comments that you would like to make, looking back over the years that you were here?
Well, yes, I spent most of my life, all of my life, since 1938 here in Stroudsburg. And I had 2 jobs. The job at the temple that lasted, well, for almost a decade. 8, 9 years. I think it was 8.5 years or something like that. And I'm very happy about that, as I think.
How did you feel about giving up the job, the rabbi's job?
Well, as I say, I always had in mind becoming a teacher, and even then when I was rabbi, I already had that in mind. And that's why I was friends with the local principals. I knew Mr. Seco very well, I know Mr. Cartwright and Mr. Groner very well. I got to know the president of the university very well. And that afterwards, and that's the second field that I want to mention, I got the reward of that. Not that I had that in mind that way, but I think you don't find very many college professors who were rabbis. That's not an easy transition. But I knew these people from the Brotherhood meetings. And then when Dr. Noonan needed somebody, and he thought of me too.
What did you teach at the college level? What was your field?
I taught at first also some languages, but not very long. Then I turned into social studies. And then as I specialized in political science, I became professor of political science, chairman of the Department of Political Science, coordinator of the social sciences, which is today the dean of social sciences. And in that capacity I had quite a responsibility, you see. And the college, so that's the second field. See, I was talking about that I had 2 fields. One was the temple, the other one was the university. I taught for the university for about 3.5 decades, 33, 34 years, depends what you count. And I found it very, very much that I was what I had to offer was appreciated by the temple, and the other way around. You see, that they appreciated me, I appreciated them, and even today. Now, I have today, as you know, I am no longer able to drive a car. As you know, I have this. As we get older, all of us get certain conditions, and I want to say a word about that. And I regret that I cannot socially participate whenever I move my head suddenly in one way or the other, and that's why I don't drive a car. And I feel that I have friends. There's you are a good friend of mine. You give me a ride frequently. Tom Breslau gives me a ride.
Oh,
and
really?
you know?
No.
Oh yes, he's never turned me down whenever he could. And neither have you. And Herb Rosen. No, you are all solid members of the temple. And you see, there's Charlie Kahn I want to mention.
Oh, yes.
Charlie Kahn, he's probably one of the most active members of the temple.
He is.
But I have also faculty members. And I am pleased and proud that I have so many friends here. In all the time that my wife has been ill, and we should say that here, my wife has been at the nursing home for almost 8 years. I had to take a taxi once, and that was in an emergency. People are very helpful. People are more friendly, and it is due to the fact that as the congregation was smaller, we got to know each other, and we became friends. And I would say that is one of my main accomplishments that I wanted in life, to have some friends here.
Let me ask you one last thing. How did you feel about leaving the congregation to go into your second field?
Well, as I said, that was my initial interest, you see. And I was a teacher of the high school while I was still rabbi. Don't forget that. And then when Dr. Noonan offered me this job, I also was still rabbi when I was at the university.
So you kind of made the transition fairly easily.
But then I felt I got too deep into it. I got too deep into education. And it wasn't fair to me anymore. It was too much. I had to drop one or the other. And I felt that I could make more of a contribution in the field that really interested me initially. I enjoyed the rabbinate. I thought it was a good experience for me. As I think back, I have, on the whole, very pleasant memories. We had hardly any real problems. I can think of one.
Yeah, tell us about any of the problems that existed. Imagine there must be like today, but...
Probably. Well, I'll tell you what the problem is. It turned on Mr. Robinson. Mr. Robinson was in the congregation, out of the congregation. He fought with this member, he fought with the board. He was not a member anymore. He was this, and he had a son, and they didn't allow me to teach him if he is not a member. So he went to the Jewish Theological Seminary, and he told him that I refused to teach that boy. He didn't tell him the full story. So I explained that to one of the main professors there at the Jewish Theological Seminary. And I said, what was I to do? The congregation had a specific request that I don't teach this boy. They knew that he wanted to be taught. So the seminary suggested, if at all possible, try to reconcile those two, and we'll try to help you. They got in touch with Mr. Robinson. I tried to speak to Mrs. Robinson. We made him a member again, and it was straightened out in this fashion. But in the meantime, you see, he had complained about me. So that was one of the incidents that happened.
I thank you very much for your time, and if there's anything else that you feel you'd like to talk about at some future time, we can always put another tape in. And I really appreciate there's a lot here, and I'm sure that whoever hears this will enjoy it as well. And I thank you very kindly.
I don't want to end this program
Go ahead.
on this note of disagreement, because my relationship with the congregation were excellent, and I found my Jewish students that I had at the college a number of Jewish students, including Itch Somers and the others, Telesta Brown, they were superior students, and it was a pleasure to teach them.
Thank you very
Anyway, I
much.
appreciate your coming over.
Thank you very much, and
And
appreciate your time.
Okay.